What up, guys? It's Schwei. We're here with Mr. Hans Williams down in New Orleans. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for coming.
Of course, bro. So we're in New Orleans, but where are you from?
I'm from Vermont.
Where in Vermont?
Norwich.
Norwich. Is that that's right by Dartmouth, right?
Yeah, right by like White River Junction, Dartmouth area.
Okay.
Yeah, right across from Hanover, New Hampshire.
I had a buddy that went to school there. Also, when I used to manage a band, played a show at Dartmouth. Actually, crazy story, bro. There was this guitar store there.
Hanover
Homie
Strings.
busted. Yes, dude.
Yes, that's the spot. Shout out Hanover Strings.
Dude, homie's playing guitar on the way up to the show. We're driving up from Boston. He busts 2 strings. There's no strings, anything at the school. Like, we're calling the guys, like, nah, we can't get anything, whatever. We find this store. He's like, yeah, dude, we're like closing at 5 or whatever. I'm like, bro, we are playing this show. Like, can you please stay open like 20, 30 more minutes? And they were just like, nah, dude.
No.
And we had to play the show with just like literally like 3 or 4 strings on the guitar. It was crazy, dude. But anyways,
there's not that much urgency around that area for that sort of things. But
yeah,
Hanover
like,
Strings
have fun.
I know. Thank God for that place though, because there's a couple other places, and it's called the Upper Valley.
Okay.
Just like a collection of a ton of towns, and not a lot of music shops there. So it's good that there's at least that one. But yeah, that's kind of hilarious.
Hell yeah.
Were you playing a frat or?
No, we were just playing like, I guess they have like a spring concert or something.
Okay, so
we were playing that.
nice.
Anyways, shout out Hanover Strings. So growing up there, it's small town, like you're kind of out of the big city vibe. How would you say that kind of like shaped your creative process?
I feel like it was a little bit isolating. Honestly, I was really lucky. I had a friend like pretty early. We played hockey together when we were in like mites, which is like 9 or 10 years old. Up until Pee Wee Bantams, he played. His name's Finn Chukis. We still make like all of our music together, and super lucky that he knew Ableton and was like producing. He was doing a lot of dance production up until maybe like his sophomore junior year of high school, and then I started bringing him songs and started working on stuff. But yeah, it was like a lot of, all right, if you don't know how to do this, then just kind of figure out how to do it yourself. And not a ton of like just not a ton of people that were coming out of there. There were a couple people. There was Brooks Hubbard, who I learned about in middle school, who was in another town in the Upper Valley. And then there was Noah Kahn, and just like 2 people to kind of look up to and see like, okay, there's a way to do this and live here, and like maybe make it somewhat sustainable. But I had no idea that was really like an option at all. But yeah, a lot of like figuring out how to do things yourself. And I think as far as songwriting, writing about like isolation a lot, or just writing about
You're really in your thoughts there.
yeah, it's great though. It's such a privilege to grow up in a place like that. I don't know, I feel like the whole time I was growing up, maybe until like my last couple years of high school, I always wished I grew up like in a place where I could like walk to my friend's house or something. But it's nice. I mean, you just have like, I grew up with 2 brothers, and you get home and you're home for the day. Like, unless you have your license, you're like,
Totally.
You're not going anywhere. I mean, you can go out into the woods, but like, you're not, it's not like you're going back into town for the day.
Yeah.
So there's real separation between like your home life and your social life,
Totally,
so it's like, you're either on good terms with your family or you're not. And so, yeah, luckily I had just like a good situation growing up, and super supportive family as far as music goes. And
right on.
Yeah.
Not much more you can ask for there. Love that. And still, I'm sure, very supportive today.
Dude, it's funny, like my mom, we call her she would say like 30 plus manager for the 30 plus age group, but I'm like, well, this is mean, but I'm like, it's like 60 plus now for her age group. But she tackles that end of the market.
Hell yeah, dude.
In the Upper Valley, she's always like putting it on to her friends, or and it's cool. They're just really excited, and My dad is like, I got him like I put him on my Spotify for artists. So he's like looking at the stats all the time. I'm like, dude, it's not good to be looking at that shit too much, but he loves it. He's just like quietly watching and stuff.
Proud dad, proud parent.
Yeah, no,
Shout out mom and dad, dude. What's your favorite smell?
Whoa. Probably like an old book, or like you go in to like a place that feels like it's been untouched for a while.
Like that old garage smell. You know what I'm talking
like
about?
Like not like too mildewy, but one that's like this has been lived in. Like honestly, there's this venue in New Orleans called Tipitina's. There's a poster right there, and the first time I walked in there, this sounds so weird, but it just smells like, there's been some legendary shit that's gone down there. All the walls are like, and this is probably a newer thing. I just haven't, I've only been there in the last like 4 years or so since I moved down here. They're covered in like all these old posters, like the whole like
OG
the whole
shit.
space. Yeah, it's just like the wallpaper is these old posters from like the 70s and the 80s when the venue was getting started. Yeah, I guess just something that feels like a little old and musty.
All right. I feel you. Hell yeah. What would you say your favorite guitar chord is?
I'm not.
Or you don't know chords like it, you just go off the vibe.
I know some chords like that. Let's see. No, I know a few chords. I guess I guess I'll just have to show it to you. I don't know what it's called, but I'll just play it. It's in this song, the track, but
hell yeah. Dude, that's what I feel like. Music is just all like, you don't need to like know the theory and shit behind it. Like as long as it makes you feel something, like
it'd be really nice to know though. I should definitely catch up on that at some point. But yeah, here, help me out here. I'll score right here. It's like out of context, it probably sounds a little weird. But got no cable.
Hell yeah. All right, I dig it. There it is. And next question for you. This might be a hard one, but what was your very first memory ever?
That's so difficult because I feel like I have a lot of like I feel like memories are one of those things that just kind of pop up when they're supposed to. So I have a lot of I feel like I have a lot of memories that I'm like waiting to access at some point. But definitely, like, I guess in the spirit of music, like one of the first that I can really remember is listening to like James Brown or like Tower of Power in this. We used to have this old Ram, like dark green Ram truck.
Okay.
And it would just like, it kind of like reeked of cigars a little bit, and it was just I just remember like sitting in the front seat and listening to like just the funkiest, like sexiest music that my dad was showing me. And just being like not quite knowing what to think of it, but like having it grow. Yeah, having it grow on me a lot. But just I guess sitting in that like passenger seat, I can remember pretty vividly, like parked in like the front driveway or something like that.
Totally. Bro, it's funny you say that because my mom used to put me on, shout out mom, she used to put me on the tons of music, bro, and some of my earliest memories are like sitting in the car, like her playing Lauryn Hill and Big Pun and like shit, like she was just like, she knew her shit back then, so that's dope. I appreciate that.
That's the only way you get, I feel like you get put on to good music. My mom was the same way. I had funk on my dad's side and then like folk and like Nora Jones or Tracy Chapman. My mom would play that one Tracy Chapman record so often. She'd just be like bumping Fast Car like 24/7.
Right on. Yeah. What's your biggest fear?
These are all the things I don't think about much. Let's see.
That's a good thing though.
Yeah, I try not to fixate on that sort of stuff. I guess this is tough. I guess there are a few like practical fears, but I think some the main thing is like I wouldn't want to get to the end of like a chapter in life, or like whether if it's like a creative moment in life, or it could be for anything. It doesn't need to be so doesn't need to go for like your whole lifespan, but I guess in general get to finish things up life wise, and get there and just be like, oh, I didn't necessarily like I would like to fuck up a little bit. I'd like to make sure
taking more risks.
Yeah, not in a way that hurts other people, obviously, but just like get there and make sure you explored everything you could have. So just
making sure you live, bro. Experience things.
Yeah, just take some chances and like get out there. I think sometimes I hermit a little bit, and like I make a lot of stuff in isolation too, and that's when I'll like have good ideas or be able to focus most. But I think I just don't want to have too many things I look back on and
be like, I should have done that.
Yeah. I guess it's pretty cliche, but
it's real though, bro.
Yeah.
100%.
But I think that could go for even like in a chapter like living in a city, or like I guess on like a creative journey, or like it could go for a lot of things, just like making sure you're really pushing yourself to be like uncomfortable in a lot of ways.
I mean, that's the only way you really grow, right? Or like really are able to take those experiences. The things that make you the most uncomfortable are always the ones where you learn the most about yourself and just about life. You know what I mean?
Especially when you're young too. I feel like I don't think I'll look back. I mean, hopefully I'll like get comfortable at some point, but I don't think I'll look back and be like, oh, I wish I had it. Wish things were more plush, like, but we'll see.
So a little bit of a piggyback on that question. Can you tell me what your biggest insecurity is?
That's tough. I think it's hard to like narrow it down to one thing, because I think in general, like I'll struggle from like imposter syndrome a lot, and I think like revolving your life around something revolving what you do for a living around what you love to do can always be like a conflict of interest sometimes, and sometimes I'll just like question like the driver for some of these things. Sometimes like creatively it should always come from a place of like necessity or like utility, where I feel that, or at least for me, not you can create out of whatever feeling you want, but I think usually for me it's like something where best stuff is gonna come, or the stuff that I resonate most with is gonna come because I need it, and sometimes I feel like that gets diluted a little bit when you do it for a living. And so sometimes I just think about how, if there was no aspect of like, if there was no fiduciary responsibility to this thing, like, would I be creating better, or would I don't know, how would it differ, So sometimes
like if you didn't have these like stigmatized benchmarks that you need to like hit, right?
Totally, yeah.
Not even hit, but just that are in your mind inherently, just.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes you get attached to things that are further away from what you're actually trying to achieve, because if you knew exactly what you were trying to achieve, then it wouldn't be like making anything. You would just be like replicating something that you've already seen before. But I think the best things come when you have no intention. Sometimes I feel a way about that, but I think the best way is just like, if you're in a place where if you're in a healthy place where you can like subsist off what you're doing, you don't need to necessarily make sacrifices like we were talking about in the car to like, make whatever you're doing creatively financially viable, then you're in a really good position. But I think it's when you're stuck and you're like, all right, I have to do this, then that's when you lose touch with what you're actually trying to do.
You gotta, my biggest thing, what I've realized too, is just like, regardless of the outcome or what people think, or if you make money or whatever it is, like, as long as it's making you happy and it's making you feel some type of way, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I think the hardest thing in life too that a lot of people don't get the chance to do is like experience what that feels like doing something that they love. You know what I mean? And I feel like, especially like creatives and musicians, anyone that like makes something and puts it out into the world, like that, just the aspect of creating something, I think is one of the hardest things to do, and letting people, you know, critique it and criticize, you know, whatever it is, getting like something that comes in from inside of you and putting that and sharing that out with the world, I think it's like the most honorable thing. And that's just my perspective. There's tons of honorable things. No, but
you're so lucky to be able to do that. And I don't know, just have it be something that's sustainable or something you can do for your whole life, you know, or have people that are even listening at all.
Totally.
But I also think people that don't do it for a living or it goes for any like craft or any just like, you know, I feel like the people that find enjoyment in the stuff that's totally unrelated to what they do for a living, I'm sometimes envious of, because they just have such a pure relationship to it, and it's not all, you know, it doesn't get like lost in this stuff we were talking about.
Totally.
But at the same time, it's like a privilege to be able to do both, you know, and you can really focus on it.
Right on, man. What's your favorite emotion?
Favorite emotion.
Hitting you with the hard ones here, bro.
Yeah.
Digging deep.
I love nostalgia, but it can hurt sometimes.
Powerful feeling.
Yeah, I think nostalgia is a good one because it gives good context to. Well, sometimes you can romanticize it, and then it's not good context for however you're living. But, yeah, nostalgia, a good one.
Okay, cool. What was the last thing you cried about?
Oh, this is tough. Man, you're getting. I didn't know it's gonna be therapy. I appreciate it though. I appreciate it.
You know what? I think like. A big thing why I kind of started doing the interview series too was because, I mean, from my previous experiences, like the artists I used to work with and whatnot, like we'd do these press runs, right? And there's the same fucking questions.
Yeah,
over and over. You don't ever like really get to know somebody with like surface level shit. And I think being able, especially as an artist, like being able to show who you are, like as a person aside from the music, that to me, I think is what creates like these really strong relationships with the people that listen to your music, because being able to find that like personal connection between a listener and an artist, I think that like that's like the purest bond right there.
No, entirely. And it's really,
so that's why I asked these questions.
And it's great that you do it, because I think it's really hard as an artist to just be like dig into this stuff without some mediator like asking you the question or just like eliciting the response. So it's hard unless you're just gonna like, unless you have some medium. I guess, you know, sharing it through song is like one of the better ways, but you can't explicitly talk about these things without having like a real conversation. There's got to be two ends to it. But I'm trying to remember.
And if you don't want to share it, it's okay.
No, I would love to. I think it'd be cathartic. I've had a couple, this could be a little cheese, but I've had a couple moments here kind of like sinking in that I'm finally doing like what I want to do for a living, and I'm finally like making the music that I want to make, and things are finally coming together in a way where maybe 4 or 5 years I wouldn't have expected them to. And I've definitely like, I had a odd like introduction to the city where when I first like got here, I went to school here, and like a few days in, my floor mate passed away by suicide, and some friends and I, like basically everyone on the floor was there at one point, but like myself and a couple other friends were like the first ones to find him, and that was like the first like 3 days living in the city. So I always associate coming back here with like flying in or like just getting into the town with that feeling sometimes. And I associate that with like uptown or like being by like Tulane campus a lot of times. Like I just get like a weird and odd feeling. And I think sometimes associating that with like what I'm doing now, I wrote a song about it, and a lot of my songs like somehow revolve around that experience. I've had some like nice tears of joy on Carrollton, which we drove on. It's this long strip that goes from uptown to mid city where I live now, and yeah, just like some subtle tears of joy.
Hell yeah,
like
bro.
listening to new mixes or listening to some Adrian Lenker or just like being like, fuck, this feels good. Like this is where I'm supposed to be, and
Right on, dude.
having things feel right. And kind of associated with that because I think a lot of times I just have bad associations with this city, and I've worked like this whole time to just kind of like, I have so many positive experiences here that overshadow that one negative experience, but that one lingered for so long that it kind of just like messed with me. And so I think the music I'm creating now is all just like a message to the kid that went through that, or I guess I was like 7, I was 18, so, you know, young adult or whatever, but just a little letter that's like, you know, you're here,
Hell yeah,
it's
man.
going well, and yeah.
I love that. I think you kind of answered my next question too, because I was gonna ask if you could tell me like one experience in your life that you think helped define and like shape who you are today. It's, to me, it feels like, you know, the experience you had 4 or 5 years ago has definitely played a big role in kind of who you are today in a sense, and being able to use your music as a way to communicate those like deep feelings, right? So
Yeah, no, that's definitely, that was the first time too I really had to, like, there was something that I really had to suss out through music. I don't think there were many other outlets. You know, there are friends around, and therapy's great too, but I think that was one of the things that I just with myself had to like come to terms with in my own way. And then obviously there are so many other people involved in a situation like that where you need to make sure that you're not stepping on anyone's toes or describing anyone else's experience revolving around the situation. So
right on.
it was the first time I had to write about something that wasn't all necessarily my own, but just give my own context to it. But yeah, I think I'm sure I'd still be making music, but that like that really drove me to make just it reminded me how much of a utility music is for me.
Totally, man. It's a beautiful thing. It's the world's universal language. You don't even need to speak the same language, be from the same culture, anything. Like, music just has a way to like get into a soul and like make you feel something. So that's what I love about music the most. So right on. And second to last question, if there's one feeling or thought, idea, whatever it is that you would want somebody who just came to your show to leave with, what would that be?
Probably catharsis. Yeah, like having felt some sense of relief, and then maybe find some source of understanding, whether I give it to them or just it's just like they have an interaction in the crowd. But I'd love to, like, we're going on our first like string of shows around the country this spring, and I'm just interested to see like just the kinds of people that come out and like what the crowds will be like and how the crowd will interact with itself. And I love concerts where like I don't know, you just look around and you see all these interactions that are like positive and
Totally. People
just, like-
meeting each other, like
Yeah, people being
dancing
supportive of
with
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, and interacting in a way that they wouldn't if it wasn't for them all being in the same place at the same time.
Right on. Good luck on the tour. That's very exciting.
Thanks,
Touring
man.
is-
I can't wait. It'll be
Yeah.
it'll be a
Are
good
you
time.
coming to New York?
Yeah,
All right. I will be at that show.
Mercury Lounge
Hell
on
yeah.
on 420.
There you go.
That'll be great.
Right
Yeah.
on. And last question: is the glass half full or half empty?
It's half full. I mean,
Hell yeah, brother.
whatever. any even if I get like one more day or 2 more days, or not to put it that in
You're an
such a dire
optimist.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. You know, anything that's given, I think, is enough. And like, if you're gonna
Love that.
if you're gonna like just take it and run with it, and I don't know, I think you can't necessarily take anything for granted. Not to say that I don't all the time. I just think when you frame it like that and it's that right in front of your face, then there's a clear answer. But yeah, man. Good questions. I appreciate you asking stuff that's like meaningful. And
Of course, brother. I'm glad you were able to communicate those things and share them. So thank you. There you have it, folks. 10 and 60, Mr. Hans Williams. Yeah.